Imagine a peaceful Arctic village, covered in white snow, where children play without fear. But suddenly, a massive polar bear appears. It moves closer, its powerful paws sinking into the ice. The children freeze, trapped in a terrifying moment between life and death. It was a quiet evening in a small Arctic village. The air was crisp, and the snow-covered ground shimmered under the fading sunlight. A group of children laughed and played near the outskirts of their settlement, unaware of the danger lurking nearby. Among them was a 7-year-old boy, bundled up in thick winter clothes, chasing after his friends. Their parents were inside, preparing dinner, believing their kids were safe. After all, nothing ever happened in this peaceful village, until now. Without warning, a shadow moved in the distance. At first, it blended with the icy landscape, almost invisible. But as it stepped closer, the massive figure became clear, a fully grown polar bear, towering over everything in sight. Its dark eyes locked onto the children, its powerful body moving with quiet, calculated steps. The children had no idea they were being watched. The Arctic is a land of extremes, a vast, frozen wilderness where survival is a daily battle. The ground is covered in thick layers of snow, stretching as far as the eye can see. Towering icebergs drift silently in the frigid waters, and the wind howls through the endless white landscape. Temperatures can drop to deadly levels, freezing anything exposed within minutes. In this harsh world, only the strongest creatures survive, and at the top of the food chain stands the polar bear. Built for the cold, its thick fur and a layer of insulating fat protect it from the freezing temperatures. Its powerful limbs allow it to move effortlessly across the ice, while its massive paws act like snowshoes, keeping it from sinking into the soft snow. But what makes the polar bear truly dangerous is its hunting ability. With a sense of smell strong enough to detect prey from miles away, it can track down seals hidden beneath the ice. Patient and precise, it waits for the perfect moment to strike. When food is scarce, a hungry bear will search for other options, sometimes venturing dangerously close to human settlements. The first sign that something was wrong came from the sudden, eerie silence that fell over the group of children. They had been laughing and playing, their voices filling the cold air, but now everything was still. At first, they didn't understand why. It wasn't until one of the older children, standing near the edge of the village, noticed a large, white figure moving through the snow. The bear had appeared almost silently, blending with the white expanse of the land. It wasn't charging, nor was it growling, just a quiet, deliberate approach. It was huge, far larger than any animal they had seen before. Its eyes were locked on them, a predatory stare that sent a chill through the group. The bear wasn't acting like it was simply lost or curious. There was an intensity in its movements, a purpose behind its steps. It wasn't looking for shelter or a place to hide, it was hungry. The scent of the children had drawn it in, and the bear's survival instincts told it that this was an opportunity to find food. With every slow step, it grew closer to the group, and a sense of dread began to creep into the children's hearts. The moment the children realized what was happening, panic spread like wildfire. One of the younger children, barely able to comprehend the danger, started to scream, her voice high and terrified. That single sound set off a chain reaction. Some of the older kids froze in place, their legs too paralyzed with fear to move. They stood motionless, eyes wide, staring at the approaching bear, unable to think clearly. Others, fueled by pure instinct, began to run. Their breaths quickened, and their footsteps left a trail in the snow as they darted towards the safety of the village. But even in their frantic rush, they knew there was no guarantee they could outrun a creature as fast and powerful as the polar bear. The fear was overwhelming, and the reality of their situation began to sink in. It wasn't long before the adults heard the screams. A mother, standing by her home, looked out the window and saw the chaos unfolding. She recognized the danger immediately. The bear was closing in, its heavy steps now echoing in the frozen air. Her heart skipped a beat as she shouted for help, her voice shaking with fear. A few other villagers, hearing the commotion, rushed outside to see what was happening. But it was already too late to think about safety, they had to act fast. The bear's movements were slow, deliberate, as it advanced toward the children. It didn't charge at them right away. At first, it seemed almost methodical, each step heavy and calculated, as if it were weighing its options. Its eyes never left the group, its body language tense and focused. It wasn't curiosity that drove the bear closer. It was hunger. The sharp scent of human presence had drawn it in, and now it was close enough to sense the vulnerability of the children. The children, still frozen in fear, barely moved. They knew they were too far from the village to be safe, and the air felt heavier with every passing second. One of the children, still near the back of the group, was the closest to the bear now. The bear's huge paws sank deep into the snow with every step, the sound of its movements growing louder and more threatening. For a split second, it seemed like the bear might stop, perhaps reconsidering the approach. But then, in a flash, the bear lunged forward. A shrill scream broke the silence as the polar bear closed the gap. Its massive jaws opened, revealing sharp teeth designed for tearing through thick meat. The attack wasn't wild or desperate, it was precise. The bear was not acting on a sudden impulse. This was calculated, an animal at the peak of its hunger and instincts. The moment of contact felt like an eternity. The children scattered, but not everyone would make it out in time. The bear's powerful presence was undeniable. Fear turned into sheer survival as the chaos erupted into full-blown panic. As the bear lunged forward, the children scattered in every direction. Some ran toward the nearest building, hoping to reach the safety of the village. Their breath came in quick gasps, and their small legs struggled to carry them through the deep snow. The icy cold nipped at their faces, but the fear of the bear was far worse. A few of the older children, thinking quickly, tried to hide behind nearby snowdrifts, holding their breath in hopes of going unnoticed. They crouched low, peeking over the snowbanks to see the bear's movements. But the bear was too focused, too determined to be distracted by such attempts. It didn't stop its pursuit. One of the parents, a father who had heard the screams from inside his home, ran outside with a heavy wooden broom. In a desperate attempt to scare the bear away, he waved it above his head and shouted loudly. His voice trembled with fear, but he was determined to protect the children. The broom was useless against such a powerful predator, but the hope of distraction kept him going. Another nearby villager, a hunter, had grabbed his rifle and rushed toward the scene. He wasn't far enough away to make a clean shot, but the sight of him brought a flicker of hope. As the bear turned towards the group again, the sound of the rifle's shot cracked through the air. The loud noise startled the bear, forcing it to momentarily retreat, but it didn't leave entirely. The danger was still real. This was only the beginning of the fight for survival. Just as it seemed the bear's attack would escalate further, something unexpected happened. The rifle shot, though not enough to harm the bear, had startled it. The loud crack echoed across the frozen landscape, and for a brief moment the bear hesitated. It paused, its ears twitching as it turned toward the source of the sound. The pause was long enough for the children to make a dash for cover, scrambling toward the nearest building. In that moment, a figure appeared from the shadows of the village. Another hunter, this one with a larger firearm. He had been patrolling the outskirts, unaware of the danger until the first shot rang out. His eyes immediately locked onto the bear. Without hesitation, he raised his rifle, aiming carefully as he moved closer, his focus entirely on the bear's next move. The polar bear, disoriented by the noise and the pressure, growled lowly, shifting uneasily. It was still dangerous, but for the first time, it wasn't the predator in control of the situation. The hunter's calm approach and steady aim gave the children a chance. They ran towards the safety of the nearest house, not looking back, their hearts racing with the rush of survival. The bear, momentarily confused and cautious, began to retreat slowly, but it wasn't gone yet. The situation was far from resolved. As the bear hesitated, the hunter moved swiftly, taking advantage of the momentary break in its aggression. He kept his rifle aimed at the polar bear, ready to fire if needed, but his priority was clear: ensure the children got to safety. His presence was a lifeline for the terrified kids. In the chaos, the children managed to make their way to the nearest house, its door slamming shut behind them as the last of them dove inside. The parents who had been inside now quickly ushered them to safety, locking the door and pulling the blinds down tight. The cries of fear slowly quieted, replaced by heavy breathing and the disbelief of what had just occurred. Meanwhile, the alarm had been raised, and more villagers began to arrive. The local authorities were quickly alerted, and a wildlife expert from a nearby research station was contacted. Trained in polar bear behavior and wildlife safety, the expert arrived with his team and began to assess the situation. They knew that the bear's retreat wasn't a sign of its defeat. It could return if it wasn't properly dealt with. The hunter and a group of locals kept watch as the authorities set up a plan to safely tranquilize and relocate the bear. They knew the danger wasn't over, but the children were safe for now. The expert explained that this kind of behavior from a polar bear was increasingly common due to the scarcity of food sources in the wild, forcing the animals closer to human settlements. It was a stark reminder of how climate change was affecting wildlife and their natural habitats. The attack wasn't a random act of aggression, it was driven by factors that are becoming all too common in the Arctic. Polar bears, like many other species, are facing severe challenges due to climate change. As temperatures rise, their primary hunting grounds, the sea ice, are melting at an alarming rate. Without the thick ice, polar bears are left with fewer opportunities to hunt their usual prey, primarily seals. This shift has forced many polar bears to venture further inland in search of food. The bear that attacked the children wasn't hunting out of malice, it was desperate. The hunger and the scarcity of food were pushing it closer to human settlements, where there were easier targets. But these settlements are not natural hunting grounds, and when a bear is forced to move into areas it usually avoids, it can become a threat. At the same time, territorial behavior also plays a role. Polar bears are solitary creatures that protect their hunting territories. When they feel threatened or cornered, they can act aggressively, especially if they are hungry or desperate. The presence of humans in their traditional territories, whether it's through settlements or industrial development, forces them into conflict with humans. Human expansion into the Arctic also plays a significant role. As more villages, research stations, and even tourism sites are built in the Arctic, humans are encroaching on areas once left untouched. This not only disrupts the natural balance but also increases the likelihood of dangerous encounters between humans and wildlife. The more we push into their space, the more likely these kinds of attacks will become. This attack serves as a stark reminder of how crucial it is to respect wildlife and understand the risks involved in living near their habitats. While polar bear attacks are rare, the increasing presence of humans in the Arctic means we must be more cautious and prepared. First and foremost, awareness is key. People living in or visiting areas near wildlife must understand the behavior of the animals around them. Polar bears, for instance, are opportunistic predators. If they are hungry or desperate, they may approach settlements. It's important to recognize the signs of a bear in the area: tracks in the snow, unusual animal behavior, or even a lingering scent. For safety, secure your food and trash. Bears are drawn to any source of food, so it's essential to store food in bear-proof containers and make sure there are no scraps left out. This simple step can dramatically reduce the likelihood of attracting bears. Another crucial step is to establish safe boundaries. Fencing around homes or community areas can help deter bears from entering. Special bear-proof fences are available in some areas, designed to keep wildlife at a safe distance. For those living in these regions, it's also important to have trained personnel or wildlife experts on hand. In case of an encounter, having the right people to handle the situation safely, such as bear safety teams or wildlife authorities, can make all the difference. When traveling or living in these areas, always carry a means of protection, such as bear spray, which is highly effective in deterring attacks without causing harm to the animal. Having a well-thought-out emergency plan for what to do if a bear is spotted can also save lives. Finally, education is critical. The more people understand the pressures that wildlife faces due to climate change and human expansion, the more likely they are to take proactive steps in avoiding these dangerous encounters. Awareness, respect, and preparation are the keys to living safely in close proximity to nature. In this chilling story, a group of children in a small Arctic village came face to face with a massive polar bear, driven by hunger and desperation. As the bear stalked closer, panic set in. Some children ran, while others froze in place, unable to escape. Their cries reached the ears of nearby adults, and a brave father and local hunters rushed to the scene. The children managed to find shelter, but the threat wasn't over. Thanks to quick-thinking villagers and wildlife experts, the bear was scared off temporarily, but not without leaving a lasting impact. The cause of the attack wasn't one of random aggression, it was the result of climate change, food scarcity, and territorial behavior, pushing a powerful predator into an unfamiliar and dangerous situation. Nature is powerful, and respect is key. It's a reminder that while we share this planet with incredible wildlife, we must also acknowledge the challenges they face. We need to act with awareness, responsibility, and care to prevent such dangerous encounters. What do you think? Have you ever had a close encounter with wildlife or heard of similar stories? Share your thoughts or experiences in the comments below. Let's keep this conversation going.